message for you, son.
I originally started doing these video blogs to save myself some time, basically. I don't have a large staff and trying to do a lot of things at the same time. And so far, it really hasn't been actually saving me much time because of the fact that, well, I don't yet know the programs all well. I've changed programs a couple times, changed cameras a couple times. And I also put a little bit more information into these than maybe I probably should, like the time when I subtitled the fellow reading the Quran. Probably not too many people really were blessed by that. Maybe a few Arabic-speaking Muslims said, oh, that's nice of you to do that. It's good for my Arabic, but other than that. So this time I'm going to try to be a little more disciplined and actually just provide some quick responses, not put a bunch of PowerPoints together and things like that. First is our friend William Albrecht has posted some responses to my series on Ignatius. Now, what that was I went through the second portion of Ignatius's, second chapter of Ignatius's Epistle to Smyrnians, and did that a number of years ago on the dividing line. I just took that, gave you the text, and what I'd like you to do is, I'd invite you to track down William Albrecht's videos. I really would. I would invite any rational person to watch what I've said, listen to what I've said, look at the original materials, and then listen to William. And honestly, I can allow you to make the decision from there. It's just that obvious, painfully obvious. For William, the early church believed what I believe. And anybody who says otherwise, just take him out of context. That's it. And there's no reasoning with someone who does not realize that they have to back up what they're saying. They cannot start with the conclusion of their argument. And I have come to clear conclusion, as many other people have in the past, that there is no reasoning with William. But unfortunately, William represents a lot of the way people think in this area. And you respond to what they say, you demonstrate where they're wrong, you move on from there. There's no reason to do anything else. But here's an example from the beginning of William's response on Ignatius.
But now I'm here and I want to deal with a few things that James White has been up to once again. A little while back, James White posted a video series dealing with St. Ignatius of Antioch. And if you watch his video set, he criticizes Catholics in a very ugly manner. Excuse me. He even gives impersonations of us in a little bit of a very rude manner. You know, James White sometimes lacks a lot of respect and needs to be put in his place, and that's what I'm here for. I'm here to defend the Catholic Church that Christ has founded, the church in which the gates of hell will never prevail over. I'm here to defend it and do my best to serve Christ in the fullest. And I believe that James White is very dishonest when it comes to the usage of the church fathers, and I believe he has to be. You know, as a Protestant, James White is stuck in a rough position. You know, the early church did not believe or view the Bible in the way that he does, so it's rough for him to really read the early church without ripping them out of their context. And well, you know, I know that James White knows that the early church was not Protestant, so that is why I do not understand why he can rip them out of context the way he does. But anyway, we're going to touch upon the series in which he deals upon. He actually is attempting to make Steve Ray, a Catholic apologist whom I have spoken with, look bad. He's attempting to make Steve Ray look bad here, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and try and lend Steve Ray a hand here, because I know he's really busy right now. And I want to start off with this video. And we're gonna cover all 5 of the videos and the relevant parts that we need to that James White has done on Ignatius. A minute and 28 seconds into the video, we hear James White make the accusation that Roman Catholics cannot handle the early church fathers in an accurate fashion. Then we hear that only really Protestants can handle the early church fathers. I couldn't help but laugh a little here. The early church, which believed in the primacy of the Pope, prayer to the saints, gave respect due to Mary, did not believe in the premillennial rapture, believed in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and the early church that gave us the Bible. Not the Protestant Bible lacking 7 books, but the complete Bible. It's that early church that the Protestants can handle, right? That makes no sense whatsoever. But it's no wonder why James White has never been able to deal with the early fathers in a cogent manner. In each one of my videos I have demonstrated that. James never dealt with any of the fathers that I mentioned that referred to the Eucharist being the substantial presence of Christ, the real presence.
Now, the irony in all of this, of course, is that right at the same time William is faulting me for disagreeing with him that the early church fathers were 21st century Roman Catholics, believing everything that modern Rome teaches. I'm directed to a website called Catholic Visions. I'd like to tell you something about whoever's behind it, but I can't. I couldn't find any meaningful information about the person on their own blog site, but it's catholicvisions.blogspot.com, I think. And I grabbed a couple of quotes here that are interesting. In today's apologetics world, many Protestants now more than ever are misinterpreting the early church fathers just as they do the sacred scriptures. For example, James White over at his Alpha and Omega Ministries, I'm not sure what that was. Was it because I went to Hawaii? Me and R.C. Sproul took D. James Kennedy's place on his cruise last June? I don't know. Anyways, seems to have an absurd, fallacious idea that we must find every single doctrine that the Catholic Church teaches in the 2nd or 3rd century church father writings, or they are simply not true. Where he has come up with this absurd, chuckle-headed theory is anyone's guess. What is equally absurd are these Catholic apologists who humor him by trying desperately to find some one-line passage from an early church father to prove some doctrine of the Catholic Church. Well, obviously, I don't believe that finding a single line in the early church means that we should or should not believe that. I think I've been pretty clear over the years that the only reason a Christian should believe something is because it's found in divine revelation, that is, in the sacred scriptures. But when I'm dealing with Roman Catholics who claim that their beliefs are in fact the consistent teachings of the early church fathers, then if I demonstrate that's not the case, then all I've demonstrated is that their arguments are untrue. This guy isn't even slightly seriously interacting with what 90% of everybody who watches the debates, listens, has some modicum of fairness in their thinking, is clearly able to see. Here's another example. If we read St. Cyprian when he writes of the Eucharist in a mystical symbolic verbiage, does this mean that he did not believe in the real presence? Notice, these folks cannot grasp the idea of recognizing the historical difference between real presence and transubstantiation. They can't do it. They just go tilt, stop working, sort of like Vista, you know what I mean? Just can't handle it. James White and those like him would like to think so. Doesn't it make more sense that he was addressing something entirely different than the doctrine of transubstantiation? Yeah, since no one was talking about that. Would we even expect such a term to be used from that era? No, I wouldn't, because they didn't believe in it. I don't think so. This, however, is certainly no proof that St. Cyprian denied the real presence. See the flipping back and forth between two different concepts? All of this hurling early church father quotes back and forth is just as absurd as hurling sacred scripture verses back and forth. This is the madness of amateur apologetics. Unfortunately, many of these do-it-yourself, hayseed apologists are making money hand over fist, putting out inept information and passing it off as reliable. Well, there you go. Once again, it is not, now listen to this, it is not the writings of the fathers themselves, nor that of sacred scripture alone, but the correct interpretation of them that matters. All this, once again, comes down to authority and historicity. The apostolic succession that passes on doctrine by the guidance of the Holy Spirit is what matters. And isn't it funny? We could put these two guys in the room, and they would have, William and this fellow, and they would have to completely disagree with one another. He's clearly taking a completely different position than William does. And both of them assume the other guy is just so completely wrong it's not even funny. But then they all come back to the same idea. And this idea that you need this apostolic tradition. You need this mechanism whereby you can interpret both the scriptures and the early church fathers. Evidently, if you write something, no one can possibly interpret it except for the church. Those are the only people that can do it. We can go back and we can look at the context of an Ignatius, a Cyprian. We can look at the words he used. We can examine his writings, his grammar, everything like that. Not enough. You got to have the church to tell you what even St. Cyprian meant. Well, I know what St. Cyprian meant. I know what he meant when he rejected the meddling of the Bishop of Rome in the North African Sea. I know what he meant. But you see, once development takes place, and Rome will tell you, oh, he didn't really mean that. That's the kind of magical patristic interpretation that someone like the fellow at Catholic Visions. And finally, real quickly, because I'm almost out of time, over at MormonApologetics.org, a thread started because in commenting on Ehrman, I just very briefly said that Mormons have a very low view of God. They do. When you believe that God's exalted man, that's a very low view of God. That's not the God of the Bible. I just direct this to those folks over there. Isaiah 29:16, you turn things upside down, as if the potter were thought to be like the clay. Shall what is formed say to him who formed it, he did not make me? Can the pot say of the potter, he knows nothing? That's the true God of the Bible, not the exalted man of Joseph Smith. Thanks for watching.